Joining us now to talk more about the impact of the growing trade war with Canada is Arizona Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Senator, Canada's retaliatory tariffs are in response to Trump administration imposing a 50% tariff on a package of Canadian goods. What impact do you expect this to have on businesses and consumers?
Look, this president wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. He really should write a book called The Art of Being Stupid. This is going to be a very dumb result for the American consumer. And it's going to be up and down. You're going to see it whether it's on some smaller items or bigger items. We have a very integrated automotive world where we are sending parts back and forth between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. You're going to see tariffs that are going to be put on that. There's only so much aluminum that is actually being created right now. Largely, it's actually imported from Canada. We're not going to be able to create new aluminum plants overnight. So we're going to end up seeing more and more costs of all the things that have and contain aluminum are going to be going into that. And from reports I hear, the deal was actually kind of done. And the president got on the phone in the last minute and added, after months and months of negotiation, last minute terms that Canada could not agree with. So again, the worst negotiator in the world just negotiated the worst trade deal in the world for us, and we essentially lost, and now we're going to end up in a trade war.
Switching gears, as the war in Iran grinds on, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve fell to its lowest levels since 1982. How concerned should Americans be about the country's energy security?
Well, look, the reason this actually was even created, the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, was created was because of our initial war with the Iran war, during the initial Iran conflict. And we realized how hostage we were to the demand of oil, not just obviously from U.S. demand, but even from national demand. So this is why we actually had this. What it really tells you, though, is that this president did not at all plan for a long war. He did not work with our planners to actually figure out how to prepare for potentially could be a disruption to the oil markets. Didn't work with our allies to tell them, hey, you need to actually start saving up and putting in more oil into your petroleum reserve. Did not resupply and refill our SPR. He was actually hoping that everything would go well. He didn't plan for everything to go well. He certainly did not plan for things to go badly. And so we're going to find ourselves in a situation where, we won't run out of gas, but we're going to end up, unfortunately, having to pay more for gasoline.
You're a Marine veteran and on the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee. We reported yesterday the wife of an active duty Army sergeant was deported to Honduras. Do you believe the administration's ICE policies are undermining military morale and readiness? And what should be done to protect these military families from deportation?
Look, in the past, there's been different types of waivers that have been given to family members that are serving in the military right now. It doesn't give them any type of citizenship, doesn't give them any type of path to citizenship, but it actually defers their deportations. They could actually go through a process. It is going to war and serving your country is a very difficult thing. And these men and women do it for the most honorable reasons in the world. And these parents, though they're not American, are so patriotic and they're so proud of their kids. The least we could do is at least let their parents stay here, give them some level of temporary status to make sure that, we're abiding by, at least some code of ethics where if you take care of our country, we will take care of your family.
Arizona is facing roughly a 30% reduction in its Colorado River water supply over the next 2 years after agreeing to a deal to cut water usage from the severely decreasing water levels of the river. Are you worried about Arizona's long-term water security and the possibility of deeper water cuts after 2028?
Look, I'm not worried about the long-term water security if the Bureau of Reclamation is willing to work with Arizona and the lower basin states. We have done a lot of drastic cuts voluntarily as a state to prepare for this moment. We've been, conserving water. We've been creating water. We've been figuring out how to convert, farmland to housing, which actually takes up less water. We are a very, very smart water state. What we don't like is the fact that a lot of states that aren't growing as fast as Arizona, that haven't seen the investment from the national, from our nation into it, whether it's with chips, military weapons, or the fact that we produce 80% of all the vegetables in winter in Arizona, that we're being treated in such a manner. In the best interest of this country, we should be recognized for the water conservation we're doing. We're willing to do more, but it also requires the United States to federal government to actually recognize something. They need to release all the funds that are federally allocated to Arizona for water conservation. Billions of dollars projects are being held up. We need to actually fast forward and try to stop all the bureaucratic hurdles for us to create new water systems, create new reservoirs, move water, conserve water, desalinate, all these things that are going to be held up. If we are given the tools in terms of resources, if we're giving the leeway in terms of regulations, Arizona can survive and can actually thrive going into the next 50 years.
Senator Gallego, we so appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.